guys, welcome back to my completely disorganized garage. Today I am going to work on the Mini Cooper, and no, not that one, that one over there. This is my son's Mini Cooper. He has prepped it, getting it prepped to take the engine out. It runs. He says it doesn't like to get up above 80. I think it could have a cat problem, but at like 100, I can't remember, 150, maybe closer to 200. It's got a lot of miles, so we think we could just take it out and do a simple rebuild, put it back in, new piston rings. That one, when I did this, cylinder head, the head gasket, the piston rings were just crudted in there. It was smoking out of the back, so it was burning oil. So that one definitely needed it. So this one, why not? And then we can clean the cat, replace a bunch of stuff. He's going to take it out. We're going to do a full rebuild, bearings, all the seals. So make this a solid engine. But this one, there's a short that should have already posted of me doing the valve cover gasket. I did the valve cover gasket when I did the crossover pipe the other day, and then it was just pouring out of the front right corner. So I had to take it out, did it again, and I coated the underside and the inside with RTV. That short is kind of fast, sped up, but that's what I did. But what I've decided to do is take it a step further, and for a little over $100, they have these solid aluminum valve cover, the entire valve cover, and I think that's the problem with those. Is those plastic ones, and obviously if you can easily buy these for a low price, there's a reason, and I think the reason is those plastic ones just don't seal as well. So one of the things I already like is this doesn't have the metal inserts that like to fall out, so that limits how much you can compress this gasket. So I need to be even more careful with this torque, because it doesn't have the metal inserts, which is fine because down here they got it as well. Comes with a new cap. I'll have to look. I don't know what this freaking read. I know it goes here, but I don't know what it does. And then, yeah, the only complaint, now there were a couple of these on Amazon. This one had no reviews. The other one, they looked identical. It said it was from a different company, but I doubt it. The bad reviews are because it said it didn't come with the gasket. So all the gaskets included. And on the other one, what I didn't show close up, obviously because it was a short, was under the gasket. I ran silicone along the entire gasket, underneath and then all along the top, and then I slobbered this corner here with both corners, like slobbered it till it was oozing out with silicone. So that's what I will do, putting it back together. These corners are the weak point. I will put silicone on these two corners, but the rest of it I'm not going to silicone, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that this metal one does what the trick. But last video on this one, I called it firing the parts cannon at it because I put a lot of parts to it. That parts cannon has turned into a parts machine gun. This is one part. Here are the rear wheel speed sensors, because the light is on. The light for ABS and traction control is on, so hopefully these rear wheel speed sensors, I think when we did the brakes, it looked like there might have been a problem with one of them. I already replaced the fronts. These are pretty cheap. If you want to know the price, just let me know, but I'll go back into Amazon and look, but they were not that expensive at all, like $30 or something for two, so pretty cheap enough that I would buy both instead of just taking one off and expecting it. And then I've got the other, the last of the, from when I replaced the catalytic converter, that upper oxygen sensor, they didn't have in stock. I couldn't get it in time, so here's the right one. Well, there was one I could have gotten quickly, but I did not like the price. So this one, I like the price, and I was able to get it, so it's ready. And then, of all the tools I have, I don't have a. This is just the long socket, to the 7/8 socket for oxygen sensor, and then this is the tool. So here is the big job that I'm going to do on this Mini Cooper. This Mini Cooper is going to get a timing adjustment. So in a second I'm going to jump in and I'll plug in the scanner and I'll show you the code. But this is the tool to set the timing, and it needs it. And I know it needs it because I've said it once before, and I know it wasn't quite right. And that red box right there is the reason why. So when we get it apart and I'm ready to set the timing, I'll show you. It's pretty easy, and this is manual timing, right? So I'm going to set the timing of the camshaft and the timing chain gear to where it's supposed to be. So this tool should hopefully be better than that one. I've already looked at it. It looks better. So we'll see, and then I'll show you, probably get detailed on how that's going to work. This code says camshaft position timing over advanced or system performance bank 1. So that is, and these codes are permanent. Where are they permanent? I think all these other codes are related to the brake and traction control. I'm hoping it's not the ABS system. Update on this car, we did take the dashboard. My daughter helped me take the dashboard back apart. We took the CAS module out again, opened it up, inspected it. It looked fine. Put it back in because these lights were going crazy. Like, it's almost like you turn the key off. Like the engine would stay running, but it's like you turn the key off, the gas gauge would go down. If the speedometer gauge was up, it would die. All the lights would go out. All the lights here would go out. The tachometer would drop to 0, and it would come back on, almost like you turn the key back on. And it was doing that over and over again, not necessarily quickly, but it would start up again, and then even the blower would stop. I don't know. That's new. It's not something that this thing did before. So I don't know what I thought. The CAS module is, one of the only things that could be running this. Since the ECU Pro guy said the ECU is good, but a couple extra cycles and it stopped doing it. So either when we took this CAS module out and did whatever, and I went through the wiring and made sure, obviously, because this used to have a water leak from the sunroof down here. That's what killed the footwell control module. Maybe I, pulled the wiring apart if they had a wiring problem. Or the other thought is with the ECU out and the CAS module out, it and they hooked it to another car. It just had to relearn. So, and it took a couple of days and a few. I think I drove it 3 solid trips. That were more than just a couple minutes, just a mile. So maybe that was it. And the other thing is, with all of that, I think when I have a short on this car scanning it, and it had 37 codes. Now it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think most of them are related to this. I'm hoping that my sensors fix that. We'll see. And obviously this camshaft one. But there are no... She's yelling at me. There are no CAN bus codes. No CAN bus codes, which is a win. So far, knock on wood, this is all plastic. There's no wood in here. But no CAN bus codes. So that is helpful. Hopefully these two things fix it. So let me pull her in. And we'll walk through how to set the timing on this car. It's not very difficult if you need to manually set it. If you haven't been into the engine of this car, you should not have to set the timing. But if you're trying to get a little bit of performance out of this non-S model, you might be able to advance or retard the timing a little bit. So that is a possibility. So we're going to do that. I'll walk you through it. I'm going to show you what the problem with the tools were, and we're going to cross our fingers and hope that the problem with this car right now, with the timing, and I knew it was a problem before, and I adjusted it before because it didn't have the code, but it was telling me that it was not right. The shift points in the transmission are a little bit off. They're a little off, and I think that's with the timing and the advancement of the timing. It is just not. It's not right. It's not terrible, and my daughter drove it for quite a bit with it like that, but it is not right. So I need to fix it and make it right. So this cross member, this front pillar thing. I'll fix that eventually, but this has to come off, and I'll have this Hero 4 on time lapse. This one's got to come off. Got to lift the car up on that side, take the wheel off. This engine mount's going to have to come off. It's a couple 13mm bolts, 18, so I can kind of lift the engine a little bit. And then I got to take the wheel off, and we've got to turn the engine. So I'll have someone help me. And there's a lock inside. There's a hole. I'll try to get down there and show you. There's a hole and a lock that locks the flywheel in, top dead center. So there's the old tool. Here's the new tool. The old tool, and this was a common thing. This has to get up in there in a tight spot. I had to grind this end down because it was too big. Well, the new tool, if you can see, is this thing's just shorter, so it's not going to have that problem. So I'm going to use the new tool. I'll show you. And just one of the problems with the old tool, half the just as a foreshadowing of what I'm going to tell you, half of the grease on this I don't think is from my car. If that helps. So I'll walk through that when we're ready to hit that part. But yep, I do have to take off a few of these components in the valve cover again, because obviously the crankshaft is down here. But what I think I'm going to do is take everything else off first, and then the valve cover, just to protect, make sure nothing falls down in there. So all right, let me get. There are two holes. You can see this upper hole there, right in front of my finger. That is where this tool has to go. So I don't know if I can keep enough light in there for you to see it, but I'll try. I'm not going to be able to do this with the camera, but this thing goes in there like that. Sure. And I can feel it's not in there that far. So it's hitting the flywheel. So I've got the pry bar, or the breaker bar, right over here on the crankshaft bolt, and I'm going to have someone turn it, and then she can turn it until it should slide right in there. It slides in pretty good, so it's not too bad. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's where it's at, and this little tool just slides in that hole. Will it go in this one farther? No, it doesn't even fit in that one. But yeah, it'll slide in that upper hole, and then you'll feel it go in all the way instead of just barely in, and then you'll be all set. So I'm going to do that. Alright, well, if you hear banging, my wife is a strong, independent woman, and my honey-do list is to replace the floors in our house. So she's just ripped up all the carpet and taken up the tile. So kind of forced me to do something. But here we go. Let me show you what the plan is. So this is the exhaust camshaft. This should be the one that needs adjustment, and I'll show you how I know in a second. So here, really the only reason to take this bracket off is to get onto this. This is a very, I gotta look up the torque spec, but it's like a couple, it's high. It's high. I'll tell you here in a second once I look it up when I'm torquing it back down, but I need space in here to get to it. So here is what my what's wrong, and it's going to be hard to see. So there's a square. I can't remember what size, but I'll get the wrenches here in a second. So this, if I put a teeny level on this, it might be level. So it's this way. This one is tilted, the front of it is tilted down, so it's not perfectly level. And the problem, so this is the first toolkit I bought, and you can see a weld here, and I welded this because it was broken. So when I got it, these bolts kind of already look like this. It was dirty, so someone bought it, used it, and returned it, and broke it and bent up some of these bolts. So I think this isn't an original bolt. I had to find these extra bolts. So yeah, it was not. It was like a cap screw, and then these other ones, and they're all cross-threaded and bent. So yeah, they had done a number on this thing, and that was not helpful. So I think there's also play in this. So once we put it in, there's play in it, and it does not help us whatsoever with the play. So I'm hoping this one has less tolerance, and it will. So let me set the camera up and see if I can show you what I do as I do it. 32 fits, but it's a little smaller than 32 millimeter. Trying to remember which two it is here. It's this one. I can already see here this is not flush, so this one is already not right. So yeah, it does have to turn. So this one here is not for this car, but I think it's for the S. But as you drop it onto here, it drops. It doesn't fit over this bolt over here, but it's touching here, but it's not touching on this side. So this is clearly not cammed correctly. I'm just trying to game plan how to hold it in place, because as soon as you loosen it down here, these camshafts can rotate. So I want to be extremely careful with that. Now I have run into one problem here, and they say that this is a problem. These holes don't quite line up. So what they've drilled out this hole to make it line up on the folks on the reviews. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to drill this one out a little more so that I can actually get a bolt down in there and then tighten it up the best I can, because I do not want to loosen this and have it twist and hit the valves, hit the pistons. So I'm going to do that right now. Alright, it's been a minute, but I drilled this hole out. Now this cap bolt doesn't necessarily fit. That's probably why they had these other weird flat top bolts in that other kit that doesn't work so well. So there's still a gap here. My plan is to move this for a second, but this gap means that this one's not lined up, and this one's not lined up. Now the problem with the other ones is there was definitely, I don't know what, I could have put a feeler gauge in here and it would have been a lot. So yeah, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pull this out so this can go flat. I don't think I need this one. And then I'm going to loosen both of these Vanos. I think they call them Vanos sprockets. And then, so it's 20 foot-pounds and then 180 degrees. I can't find bolts, so I'm going to use these over again. I think I've already used them over once, so I'm going to use them again. But my snap-on torque wrench does degrees, so I'll be able to I'll ratchet into 180 degrees. But to hold this in place while it loosens it, because they are tight, I do have the pipe wrench, what I had to use last time. So just get it on one of these sections of the camshaft. Not going to hurt nothing. Just, watch the lobes and you'll be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. Pull this back off, pull this gold piece out so this can sit flush, and then try to get you a good view. Well, there was a struggle here holding the camshaft. There is, that's like a 24 mil, but you need a, I'll try to put a wrench on here after I take this off. But this, you need a, I don't have a wrench that's skinny enough. You need a skinny wrench to get down in there, and you can put a wrench on there, but I don't have a wrench that's skinny enough. I think with that other set I was able to get one down in there, but it's like a 24 maybe. I'll double check. If it's not 24, I'll tell you. If it is, then you know what it is. But if you get a skinny wrench down in there, you can hold it. Otherwise you gotta, you know, get on the camshaft like I did. So what I do is put a little bit of pressure on it. Here, see here, you can see it just moving ever so slightly. But as you move slightly, you see that slack in the chain? Well, with it let go, there's no slack. The problem we had before, there was slack in the chain without it at rest. So now there's no slack. I mean, it's the tiniest amount. So hopefully that advances it, or pulled it back just enough. I don't think I'm going to mess with this one. I don't think it needs it. These are closer to being perfectly flat and level. Because if I adjusted this one, I think it would come this way. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful. So yeah, that's I think what I'm going to do. I think we'll leave it at that. Because yeah, I don't know. I'll come back if I've adjusted this one, but clearly I've adjusted this one before. Maybe I do need to adjust it to to get it where I want it to be. So alright, we'll see. So I did double check. This is bank 2, this is bank 1, but I think they both needed to be adjusted. So I did go ahead and loosen this one up. What you can see now is there's no gap here, and there's no gap here. It is nice and flat. I don't think this tool needs to be in here. That other piece, and then this one, see, this is flatter now. Now it's a little more this way because this is bank 1. It needs to come this way some more. So this one is, they look almost perfectly flat. Now this one is touching. I think that's it. It clearly, you know, the camshaft moved in the Vanos. There's another name for those, but they sprocket stays put. So that hopefully is the ticket. This tool is way better than that one. Also not used and broken. So yeah, I think we are all lined up just how we should. And if I don't like it, these are only like 150 bucks on Amazon. Should easily be able to pop them out and not affect the timing here. So yeah, let me button it up. I think I gotta clean the couple of things. Hand tighten these bolts Be very careful going into aluminum. Even this felt tight and I was, scared me, but I was good. Make sure you line these bolts up and you don't cross thread them. That could be disastrous. So that's definitely a tip. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I scrape all of this RTV out of here. And then, like I said, I'm only gonna use RTV here in these corners to make sure it's good. I'll wipe this down. Already looks pretty good, and we'll go back together. And then, man, I can do the O2 sensor, and then those rear brake ABS wheel speed sensors. Let's go to not much to these wheel speed sensors. It routes, so it plugs in back here, just kind of routes up and over, right here, around the back. There's a brake thickness sensor. It pretty much runs along that, and then it goes in right here, so kind of towards you if you're sitting outside of the wheel. So it's just an 8mm. Once it's kind of loose, it's pretty long, so you can just get the ratchet down in here and break it loose and then spin it. I call this stubby bob, and that's it. It actually pulled out pretty easy, so I'll do this one. Then it's got a pretty simple, I think the other part squeezes and it just comes out. So that's it, pretty easy. I'll do this side, the other side, and get ready to go test drive it. But the only thing is the spark plug socket I have for the socket I have for this O2 sensor is not long enough. This is a pretty long O2 sensor, so I need to get a deep 7/8. So what I'll probably do is, on my test drive, go to O'Reilly and buy the right socket. Well, just smoothed out, and it's running really good. The one thing I don't like about this, my one complaint so far about this aluminum valve cover is that this breather hose, did not fit, so I had to put a hose clamp on it. Everything else, no leaking down here so far. It's pretty early, so I'll let it run for a minute. Get ready to go. I gotta go buy the longer spark plug socket, I keep saying spark plug, oxygen sensor socket to replace that O2 sensor. But yeah, the only thing I found on the rear sensors, one of them had grease in it, so maybe the wheel bearing is starting to leak. But we'll see. If it goes out, then maybe I'll buy a wheel bearing. But then these, you can see how much silicone I use on this one. Yep, quite a bit. Hopefully none on this one. It's going to smoke off some of that old oil, but that's about it. All right, so I'm in the Mini, as you can see. I did drive this thing like 230 miles. So I just drove it from Virginia, or from North Carolina, so Camp Lejeune to Virginia, Quantico-ish, 230 miles there and back. It initially was running good, and then there was one point where the reduced power light came on, and it ran a little bit rough on the way to work. I got to work, it would not restart hot. Came back out, fired right up. It did that a couple of times. It just recently did that yesterday. But I think I might have fixed that. So what is important after you've done a service like this is hopefully you've got a scanner, a good scanner, and you can go here into the drive mode of the maintenance section. So this C-Reader Elite is made for BMWs and Minis. So you can set the idle speed, reading out readiness codes, Vanos adaptations. I did that one already. Learning valvetronic limit positions. I think that was the main one that needed to happen. And it says every time you service something like this, you should relearn these valvetronic limit positions. So I did that. I also reset the transmission control adaptation values. Just went out and drove it, and it's running good. So, and as I came to a stop, it didn't. One of the other problems is I came to a stop. It like stuttered on its face and seemed like it wanted to die. It didn't do that this time. I just got back from a drive and it restarted right away. Let's see here one more time. Watch it restart. Yeah, that's smooth. I was having a problem where it was just cranking, and I had to pump it. Go through the crank cycle, because this one you had to hold. It's a push button start, so you got to hold the brake pedal down. Had to 2-foot it, give it gas. Took 3 or 4 tries, long tries, and it finally did start. But now it's working. So I don't know if I'm going to drive this one back tomorrow. We're expecting a pretty good snowstorm on Thursday and Friday, and I think I need 4-wheel drive, or Wednesday, Thursday. So if there's still snow on Wednesday, on the way back here, because I come back to North Carolina every weekend, I do want to make it home. So I think I might do the Durango, but I'm dialing this thing in. I think it's in good shape. I do have a few more parts to throw at it. The brake level sensors, I know one broke when we did the brakes on this not long ago, so I do want to make sure I put that on there. I got to finish the oxygen sensor. I finally got the right socket for that. And I might order a crankshaft sensor just because, if it's cheap enough. It's like $50 at, I don't want to spend $50. You know, I'm a cheapskate. So if it's $20, around $20 on Amazon, I might buy it and put it in. It's probably pretty simple. It looks like it. So yeah, that's what else still needs to be done to this thing. It's been a trip, and I will keep on keeping on. You know, I don't want to buy another car and something that'll get me back and forth. This thing, it was about 3/4 of a tank. I drove it all the way to the halfway point to the North Carolina Virginia state line. Put $19 of premium in it because it hadn't been running a while, so I wanted to, make sure we had premium. It's supposed to have mid-grade at a minimum. Drove it all the way to Quantico, drove back and forth to work for a few days and around, and then was able to make it all the way back to the halfway point before I needed to get gas. And then it was close to $40 with the mid-grade, but then I've made it home. I'm only down 2 little bars, so it's still at 3/4 tank, and I haven't even touched it yet. So I'll be able to make it halfway with a half a tank. This thing, hopefully this has improved the gas mileage, because this thing has driven 300 miles before with a 1/4 tank of gas. So hopefully we're there, and I'm getting this thing dialed in, and I'll be able to drive it. So yeah, it's been an adventure. Still more to come on this car, and still a little bit of work to be done. And then hopefully we can walk through what I just went through with this stupid CAN bus and computer issue that literally just taking the computers out and putting them back in fixed. So I don't know, maybe it was how they reset it. when they tested it at the ECU Pro place. But that whole 30 some codes on CAN bus is gone. So all right, we'll see, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe, and I guess we'll catch you on the next one.